Welcome back to Wham Bam Dashcam, home of the craziest crashes and wildest wrecks you won't find anywhere else. Hold on to your horses because it's about to get bumpy. Watch what happened when a pickup rolled out in front of Ben's Mazda 3. First responders arrived at the scene, and the driver of the pickup truck was found responsible and given a citation. Ben told us the dashcam footage made the investigation trivial and everyone should get one. Sadly, Ben's Mazda 3 was totaled. He's just grateful everyone survived the collision, and he wanted to remind drivers to always look before entering the road. Jeffrey watched a red Mustang sideswipe a white Nissan Leaf, starting a chain reaction that would ultimately involve Jeffrey's Ram 2500 as well. Jeffrey told us that every southbound lane of the highway was shut down by first responders until the wreckage could be cleaned up. Thankfully, nobody was seriously injured in the collision. This submitter was heading home after buying a lawnmower when he noticed an oncoming police car waiting at the same intersection. Evidently, the driver of the Honda CR-V ahead of him wasn't as perceptive. After the Honda driver made their way through the red light, the cop car flipped around and chased it down. Our submitter just chuckled and continued on his way. Chase was heading home from work when he watched a white pickup suddenly cross into oncoming lanes. After going off the road on the wrong side, the pickup drove through the tall grass before veering back toward the road and finally slamming into a power pole. Thankfully, it didn't hit any oncoming traffic. Chase doesn't know what happened as he didn't stop, but he told us he saw multiple other people stop to render aid. This submitter began passing traffic in the passing lane, you know, the thing the passing lane is for, when a speeding BMW came flying up behind her and began tailgating her aggressively. Watch what the BMW driver did after our submitter had passed the other traffic and was about to return to the travel lane. After the BMW driver overtook our submitter in the travel lane, he brake-checked our submitter multiple times. Our submitter honked in response, then moved back to the travel lane. After a brief back and forth, our submitter decided to slow down and let the BMW driver get ahead of her so the situation wouldn't escalate. But she was stunned at what had happened and has reported it to the police. Nate was driving one night when he caught a glimpse of something moving in his peripheral vision.
Was it deer?
Yeah. Is that for real?
Yeah.
It almost hit his car.
Nate slammed on his brakes before coming within inches of hitting a deer that chose to leap across the road right between his Lincoln MKX and an oncoming car. He pulled over to check for damage, but he was shocked and thankful to discover that no contact had been made. Stephanie was driving down a road in Texas when the driver of an oncoming car with a flashing yellow arrow failed to yield to her even though she had a green light. Thankfully, everyone was okay and both vehicles were still drivable. Both drivers stopped and exchanged insurance information. Stephanie told us she and her husband are big fans and she asked us to surprise Guadalupe with a shout-out. Surprise! Jolene was driving down the interstate when she had to slam on her brakes for traffic that was stacking up at an exit ramp. After waiting patiently, she was shocked when a trucker went driving past her on the shoulder.
Oh my.
Jolene noted that she didn't report the trucker to the police, but now she thinks she should have. That was a pretty dangerous way to save 5 minutes. Sean watched a Honda Civic cross every lane of the highway before bouncing off the median barrier. Sean told us this is the first collision he's witnessed in 4 years of driving, and he's excited to have a video to send to Wham Bam. Other vehicles pulled over, so he continued down the highway. CM is an Uber driver who was dropping a passenger off at the airport early one morning. Suddenly, the driver of a black SUV swerved for an exit, forcing him into the gore point to avoid a collision. CM is grateful for his Honda Civic's handling, which allowed him to avoid getting sideswiped by the wayward Chevy. He was able to safely drop off his passenger before taking the rest of the night off. Dave had his dashcam recording while he filled up the gas tank of his Honda Accord. Watch what the rear camera angle captured happening in the nearby intersection. Another driver leaving the gas station drove straight through a red light before T-boning a pickup truck. Dave walked over to check on the drivers. The SUV driver was shaken up, but thankfully, neither of them were injured. Sandy was driving along when she spotted this week's Tesla behaving badly. A Tesla driver had pulled past their traffic light's stop bar and was blocking other drivers from making their way through the intersection.
That Tesla man can't drive. That Tesla man can't drive. That Tesla man can't drive.
This intersection is a little confusing, so here's an aerial view to help you see what the Tesla driver did wrong. Thankfully, they eventually figured out their mistake, but that wasn't the only thing out of place in this video. Tell us if you spotted it down in the comments, but don't spoil the search for others. This submitter lost his snacks in this crash. He was on his way home from the grocery store when an SUV driver ran a stop sign and hit his Toyota Tacoma, launching the beef jerky he was eating out of its wrapper. Police cited the other driver after watching this video. Thankfully, the SUV driver's insurance provider covered the repairs to our submitter's pickup. He wanted to thank Riley Collision Center for their hard work, but he never told us what happened to his beef jerky. Kazemi was taking the long way home when he noticed a pair of SUVs up ahead that was slowing down traffic as one towed the other with a tow strap. You can't see them yet, but you will in a moment. The driver of a Dodge in the left lane nearly sideswiped Kazemi's Hyundai Kona when they began merging to get around the slower traffic without checking their blind spot. Kazemi honked and swerved to avoid a collision with the Dodge Charger. Wait, that's not a Charger? A Durango. No? Avenger? Dart. Daytona? Stratus. Caliber? Caravan. Magnum? Demon? Caliber. Wait, I said that already. Seriously, sometimes identifying the cars in these videos is a real challenger. Oh well, let's move on. Greg was in a Dunkin' drive-thru when he watched a Honda SUV pull out of the parking lot and get T-boned by a Nissan SUV whose driver had no chance to react. Greg pulled into a parking lot and checked on the drivers. Thankfully, neither of them were seriously injured, but police told Greg he may be asked to testify in court as a witness to the collision. Thankfully, he never was. Even so, he said that viewers should buy a dash cam. Not only does it protect you, but it could help other people significantly. Santi was with his father, who was taking him to the beach when they spotted a bus driving along that seemed a little strange. Can you tell what caught their attention? Maybe this is where GM got the idea for the Hummer EV's crab walk feature. I guess it makes sense that this bus would be hanging out near the ocean. Santi told us he watches all our channels every week and he gets his family to watch Wham Bam en Espanol with him too. Thanks, Santi. Nathan was driving his Ford Explorer to work one morning when an F-250 Super Duty rolled into him after he stopped for a traffic light. How do we know it was a Super Duty? I don't know how you could miss that. The driver of the F-250 told Nathan he'd tried to stop, but his truck just kept rolling. Amazingly, neither pickup had any visible damage. After looking everything over, Nathan chose to continue to work rather than filing an insurance claim after what he called this Ford on Ford love tap. This next one is a little interesting as it takes place in a parking lot. Watch what happened as Reddy was driving his Nissan Versa. Reddy told us the other driver ran a stop sign and was driving at a speed not safe for a parking lot. Thankfully, no collision occurred, but what do you think? Who would have been at fault if the two vehicles had made contact? This submitter was pulling out of a parking lot when he watched a Volkswagen rear-end another vehicle right in front of him. Our submitter told us it didn't appear that anyone had been injured, but both drivers left before he had a chance to check on them. He also told us that tourism is common in this part of Brazil as there's a river nearby. Joe witnessed a vehicle weaving around. As he got closer, he realized the person in control of it was completely distracted by his cell phone.
Distracted driving even on the horse. I can't believe it.
Need something to do on your phone? Come join our Discord server, exclusively available for Patreon supporters. Just don't use it while you're driving. See you there!
Wham! Bam, we got a Patreon man. Please support the show.